Kate, 17 points in the third quarter. And the most disrespectful thing happens once again. Stephanie White sabotaging Caitlin Clark for Kelsey Mitchell. Caitlin Clark's got 17 in the third quarter. It's about a minute and a half left. Caitlin Clark.
But that was the moment this game stopped feeling like just another Fever win. Caitlin Clark had just exploded for 17 points in the third quarter, completely taking control of the game. Then came the decision that immediately raised eyebrows. She was taken out with roughly a minute and a half left in the period. The question isn't whether Indiana eventually won. They did. The real question is why the player who was controlling the game was the one coming off the floor at that exact moment. And it becomes even more interesting when you look at everything that happened around her afterward.
Caitlin Clark on a show versus the Dallas Wings. 20th career game with 20-plus points and 10-plus assists. No other player in WNBA history has more than 10. No other player in the history got more than 10. What we talking about?
The number attached to this performance is enormous. According to the game breakdown referenced in this source, Clark recorded the 20th game of her career with at least 20 points and 10 assists, a mark presented here as the most in WNBA history. But that statistic only tells part of the story. What made this performance so impressive was how much offense Clark created without needing to dominate every possession herself. She finished with 29 points and 10 assists while shooting 11 for 18 from the field. That's not simply volume scoring. It's efficient scoring combined with elite playmaking. And the deeper you look into the game, the more unusual the box score becomes. There were several opportunities for Clark to rack up even more assists, but those chances simply didn't turn into made baskets.
I'm going to say this, Aaliyah Boston, for all that running your mouth you did talking about Kelsey Mitchell should be MVP, your ass need to get off of podcasting and learn how to go make some damn layups. Go relearn how to make layups. All of y'all, Caitlin Clark had 10 assists blown on missed layups. Kelsey Mitchell missed three layups. That would have been Caitlin Clark assists. Lexi Hall smoked one. Lexi Hall missed the layup so bad it bounced off the backboard and damn near landed at half court. Sophie Cunningham blew one. Michaela Timpson blew about three. Aaliyah Boston misses Kelsey Mitchell for MVP. Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey make a layup. Kelsey Mitchell missed three layups for assists.
This is where the argument gets more complicated. The source identifies multiple missed layups that could have resulted in Clark assists, including missed shots by Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, Aaliyah Boston, and others. But we should be careful with the exact number because those hypothetical assists are not official statistics. A missed shot is still a missed shot. But the underlying point is clearly visible on film. Clark repeatedly created quality opportunities that her teammates simply didn't convert. And that matters because assists are one of the easiest ways to misunderstand a point guard's performance. The official box score only credits the pass when the resulting shot goes in. It doesn't measure the quality of the opportunity that was created. So when Clark finishes with 10 assists, that number is already impressive. But the film suggests her actual playmaking impact may have been even greater. And now we get to the part that really changes the conversation. While Clark was generating offense and controlling the game, another storyline was developing around Kelsey Mitchell's scoring streak. Shout out to Angry Fan Sports.
Angry Fan Sports. This Kelsey Mitchell 20-point streak is starting to feel like the Angel Reese double-double streak in Chicago, where we are forcing it to make sure she gets 20. Kelsey Mitchell should not have played the whole second half. She didn't have to play every minute of the second half. Why is Caitlin Clark getting subbed out when she got 17 in a quarter and she's carrying the team, but Kelsey Mitchell is staying in? Because y'all wanted her to get that damn 20 points. Let's be real here. Kelsey Mitchell is not.
This brings us directly to the MVP debate. Kelsey Mitchell is not the MVP of this story, but her 20-point streak has become a major part of the conversation. The claim here is that the streak began to feel like something Indiana was actively trying to preserve. Now, that is an interpretation. We cannot establish from this clip alone that preserving Mitchell's streak was actually the coaching staff's intention. But the rotation pattern is certainly fair to question. Clark had just exploded for 17 points in the third quarter. Mitchell remained on the floor. Clark came out. Mitchell continued playing. And because Mitchell needed only a few more points to reach another 20-point game, the sequence naturally created speculation about Indiana's priorities. There's an important distinction here. Wanting a player to reach a statistical milestone is not automatically wrong. Coaches manage minutes for dozens of different reasons, and we simply don't have access to every internal decision. But when the player delivering the most dominant stretch of basketball is taken off the floor while another scorer remains in the game, viewers are going to notice, especially when the outcome is still being decided. And that brings us directly to the MVP debate.
Pony can't be in the show. And Kelsey, the difference that you saw tonight, even with Paige Beckers going to get you 6 rebounds, 5 assists, do this, do. Everybody else that's in the MVP has to do some of everything. Kelsey Mitchell was the only person that gets away with just doing one thing, and that's it. Caitlin Clark, 29 points, 10 assists. All the other MVP candidates, Asia Wilson getting 20-some points, 12 rebounds. Everybody else is doing other stuff. She the only one required just to keep jacking up shots. And she was awful today.
Caitlin Clark is the strongest argument in this comparison. The criticism of Mitchell in this commentary is not that she cannot score. She clearly can. The real question is what else she contributes when that scoring isn't falling. Against Dallas, Mitchell finished with 23 points, but her efficiency was much less impressive than the raw total suggests. She made 9 of 21 shots from the field and just 1 of 7 attempts from beyond the arc. Meanwhile, Clark provided scoring, playmaking, rebounding opportunities, defensive activity, and the ability to create advantages off the dribble. That's the distinction this game puts under a microscope. A scorer can have a valuable role without necessarily being the most complete player on the roster. Those are two very different conversations. Paige Beckers provides a useful comparison. The source points out that she finished with 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Whatever you think about Beckers in the broader MVP conversation, that type of stat line demonstrates the wider responsibilities expected from a modern lead guard. And Clark's performance was built around exactly that kind of versatility.
She went out of her way. Caitlin Clark could have had 34, 35 points. She went out of her way to not even shoot, not even get her 30, to make sure Kelsey got her 20 because she's not selfish. She's not selfish at all. Let's get into this right here, man.
There's another layer here that gets lost when everyone focuses on the 29 points. Clark apparently had opportunities to push toward 30 points or even more, but instead, she continued creating opportunities for her teammates. That doesn't mean we can prove she intentionally sacrificed a specific scoring milestone for Mitchell. What we can say is that the game film shows Clark repeatedly finding teammates in scoring positions while remaining highly efficient herself. That's why the 10 assist total matters so much. Clark didn't need to dominate every possession to dominate the game. She could attack the defense, force defenders to react, and then turn that defensive attention into open opportunities for her teammates. The result was a performance where the scoring numbers were spectacular, but her overall offensive influence was even bigger.
That's it. I'm going to get, let me get into it. Caitlin Clark was 11 of 18, 2 of 8 from 3. And this is a game she didn't even shoot the 3-point shot well. 29 points, 10 assists, 1 turnover. Y'all love to talk about turnovers when it comes to Caitlin Clark, right? 1 turnover for Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell, 23 points on 9 of 21 shooting, 1 of
now
7
look
from
at
3.
The
girl
efficiency.
was jacking up shots and
Clark
hunting
went
at
11
20
for
points
18
down that
from the
fourth
field.
quarter.
Knocked down 2 of 8 3-point attempts, scored 29 points, and committed just 1 turnover. According to the source, that last number is particularly important because turnovers have been one of the recurring criticisms surrounding Clark's game. When the criticism focuses on ball security, a 1-turnover performance from a high-usage creator becomes meaningful evidence in the other direction. And there's an even bigger contrast. Mitchell's 23 points came on 9-4-21 shooting, including just 1-4-7 from 3. So the difference isn't simply that Clark scored more. She scored more efficiently while also producing 10 assists and turning the ball over only once. That's why box score debates can sometimes be misleading. If you isolate the points, the gap looks relatively small. But once you add efficiency, playmaking, and turnovers, the overall offensive picture becomes much clearer. Still, Indiana didn't win this game because of Clark alone. Another player quietly changed the shape of the night.
One night, y'all forced it. I'm going to keep it real. Aaliyah Boston 16 and 10. You wasn't that good. I keep it real. You was missing layups left and right. Ty Harris came off the bench 5 of 5 from 3 with 15 points. Michaela Timpson played all right. She just was fumbling the ball. Everybody was missing layups for the Indiana Fever. Paige Beckers dominated Kelsey Mitchell. Dominated her. 29 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. You see how she did some of everything? Kelsey just does one thing and that's it. And if that ain't working, it's just that's it. Paige Beckers had a good game. Enrique wasn't very good. She did finish with 20 points. But
Ty Harris came off the bench and went 5-4-5 from 3, finishing with 15 points. That's the kind of performance that can completely change the geometry of a game because Dallas can't simply load every defender toward Clark when another player is knocking down everything she touches. Aaliyah Boston also finished with 16 points and 10 rebounds, although the commentary correctly points out that her finishing was inconsistent during portions of the game. Those details matter because they help explain why Clark's assist total could have been even higher if more of Indiana's interior opportunities had been converted. And then there was Dallas. Paige Buchers finished with 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, while Eriko Gunbowl reached 20 points but didn't have her most efficient night. So this wasn't some one-sided matchup where Clark faced no resistance. Indiana had to beat a Dallas team with legitimate scoring threats. The Fever ultimately won 98-87, and much of the separation came after halftime. That's where the game became a real statement. Watch the variety in Clark's offensive game. She wasn't simply standing behind the three-point line waiting for a catch-and-shoot opportunity. She was coming off screens, getting downhill, finishing at the rim, pulling up, creating passes, and jumping into passing lanes defensively. That variety is the key to understanding why a player like Clark becomes so difficult to defend once she gets into a rhythm. Take away the three, and she can attack the space behind the defender. Step up to stop the drive, and the passing window opens. Chase her over a screen, and the pull-up becomes available. The defense is constantly being forced to make a choice. And that's also why the third quarter matters so much. Clark didn't simply accumulate points during a quiet stretch. She took over the game while Buchers was producing on the other end, turning the matchup into a direct exchange between two of the league's most recognizable young guards. That was the part Indiana needed from its star, not just numbers, but control. This sequence shows why the performance felt bigger than the final margin. Clark was making decisions faster than the defense could recover. The step-back three is obvious. Everybody sees the shot. But the possessions surrounding it are just as important. She was changing speeds, attacking mismatches, and forcing Dallas to defend multiple levels of the floor. That's what separates a hot shooting night from a genuine takeover. A player can hit 5 threes and disappear once the shot stops falling. Clark's production didn't depend on just one weapon, and the matchup with Buchers made that even more compelling. Buchers was producing her own 29-point performance, but Clark's impact came with the additional responsibility of organizing Indiana's offense. She wasn't simply trying to win a scoring duel. She was trying to make the entire Fever offense function. That difference is central to the MVP discussion because the question isn't simply who scored the most. It's who affected the most parts of winning. Then the game gives us one final piece of evidence: Clark helping Mitchell reach 20 points. That matters because it complicates the criticism that this was simply a selfish scoring performance. The film described here shows Clark creating backdoor opportunities for Mitchell and continuing to look for her teammates even after she had already taken control of the game. And now we can return to the rotation question we raised at the beginning. Was Clark being removed because the coaching staff wanted to manage her minutes? Was it simply the normal rotation? Was there a legitimate reason unrelated to Mitchell's scoring streak? We don't have enough evidence from this material to declare the answer. But we do have enough evidence to ask why the rotation looked the way it did when Clark was in the middle of her most dominant stretch. That distinction matters. Criticism of a coaching decision is fair. Turning an interpretation into a proven motive is not.